Hot stuff. I am so excited because in Australia, we are approaching end of financial year, which means that we have a brand new 12 months in our business that's upon us. We are starting like shoulder to shoulder with everyone that we look up to. You know, it's like it doesn't matter who in business you look up to. Every single person goes back to $0 on the 1st of July. How awesome is that? So we are all at that same start point, and we now have 12 months ahead of us to be in such a completely different spot in life, in business. Like we get to be unrecognizable in 12 months' time with our bank balance, our business, whatever the fuck we want to do. And what I was thinking about, if someone came to me and they're like, what are 10 things that I could do to make the next 12 months exceptional? What would you tell me to do? That forms the basis of what we're going to talk about today. So hot stuff, let's get into it. The first thing that I'm going to say is that you have to have a plan. That is the first step, because wanting to have the best year ahead is not actually a strategy. It is a thought that you have. And if nothing follows that thought, it is just going to stay a thought. When we think about having the best year ahead, what does this look like? What are we doing? Some of you, it's going to be money related. You're going to be like, I want to make $500,000. For others, you are going to have some kind of lifestyle related goal where you're like, you know, I want to not work Fridays and I want to be able to take my kids to school and I want to pick them up. For others, you're like, I want to take 3 months a year off and I just want to go to Italy and turn my phone off. What are you doing? That is the first step. And, you know, like my goals process for business growth, we start with goals for a reason, because that is our North Star of what we are aiming towards. So why this is really important is a lot of people want to have an amazing 12 months. They're like, we have really big business plans. But the business plan that they have is potentially this like little movie montage of what they want the future to look like. But the problem is, and where there is a disconnect, is the actual strategy has not changed. So if you desire to have a really big plan, you want to have a big 12 months, but what you are doing when July hits, when it hits August, is not any different to what happened in the start of the year. Unless you already had that big plan and you're still on course, you are probably going to end up with the same business that you have now. And, you know, let's look at it. Cost of living, everything growing up. If you are just coasting, you're not coasting, you're actually going backwards. So what I want you to do is to put down exactly what you want on paper. And I want you to not look at what you have done in the past. So do not look behind you and it's like, well, we did that before, so this is what we can do in future. Because this is where you get to come up with a completely different and a completely remarkable result. So let's pretend that the last 12 months of the financial year, you're like, I made $100,000, so let's do 150. And what I would say here as well is if you are having talks with your accountant or anyone in your financial team, when they look at goals and growth, there is going to be a chance that theirs are going to be quite conservative. So if you were, say, doing 100K, they may be like, awesome, what would it look like for you to do 120 this year or 150? It is going to be usually highly unlikely that if you have done 100 grand that they're like, great, what would it look like to do $400,000? Because that's not what they do. They are your conservative numbers people. They are great for what they do for a reason. But this is where you get to be visionary within yourself. And the most important thing that you do is actually declare this and put this down on paper. Now, what you want to make sure when you do this is that you believe that this is possible or you feel excited by it. Now, this could be something where, let's pretend again, we'll just stick with 100 grand. You've done 100 grand this last financial year. And I'm like, cool, what would it look like to do $250,000 in sales? You may be like, I don't know how this is going to look yet. That's okay. Now, what is cool about this is where you may have to be honest with yourself that you need to make some business changes. So if you are doing the 100 grand and you want to make $500,000 a year, you may be like, well, there's no way that I can make $500,000 with what I'm currently doing. Fantastic. How good is that you have recognized this now and that you can have offers or boundaries or different price points in place where this is now a possibility. And what I want you to think about with this plan is, let's pretend that you write this down, okay? Whatever you want, all right? We've got my little magic wand. We've got the Revlon little lipstick. Whoa, there we go. Bing, plan is done. Plan is locked in. That when we come to June 30th, 2026, that if you tick everything off there, it's like, great, you've got all of these things. Would you be happy? And this is where sometimes we may be like, well, no, because I also want this. Okay, cool. Write everything down that you want, because I would rather you be visionary and I would rather this take a bit longer, but we know that we have locked in the right North Star, that we know the direction that we are heading in is going to eventually give us what we want. It's like, if we want $1 million a year business, cool. I would rather you identify that now, because it's going to get you to look at your business different and set yourself up. And if it takes you 2 years or 3 years or 5 years or 10 years, that's fine, because we know what we're working towards. So I would lock that in and get really clear on what this looks like and how it's going to need to happen. So from here, you would then drill this down, and it's like, cool, knowing that this is what I want, then what is the plan to actually make that happen? And this is where, for you again, if it does feel like this is hard or this is a big hurdle that you can't seem to like leap over, this is where you are going to need to have help with this. Because if you are uncertain and you are not good at planning, you are not going to wake up one day and suddenly know what to do. You know, your plan is the structure. And what this does is, especially if you are someone that feels overwhelmed, or you have like head confetti, you have all of these different thoughts like running through your brain, like someone's just thrown confetti up and they're like, hey, bitch, focus on one thought, right? This is where, when you have moments like this, you still know exactly what you need to be doing. And especially if you have like a lot of client work or you're doing a lot, you know, the plan doesn't change. So if you have a day where it feels a bit scatty, you have something that you can go to and it's like, yes, this is what we're working towards. This is how I know we're on track. Like, this is what I need to do. This is the most important thing. So that is step one. You have to have a plan. This is where, of course, I can help you. If you want a low-cost option, purchase my $35 offer. If you want the real deal and you want to work with me, join Business Bang. And we actually start by creating a really solid plan together, your strategy, so we can do this again for the next 12 months. Okay, number two, we want to have a really good, clear offer ecosystem. And then within that, I want you to have a scalable thing and I want you to have an expensive thing. So the expensive thing is self-explanatory. It is something that is going to make a big dent in your like bank account when you sell it. You are going to know when you sell it, you will be happy. You want to go and buy a bottle of wine. You want to buy a bottle of champagne to celebrate. And then the scalable thing is something that does not have the ceiling of your labor to go and execute it. So it is something that you can sell that it will scale. And this could even be something where, like, let's pretend I was doing email marketing audits. They worked really well. You know, yes, I still have to deliver the thing, but I could get to a point where I am hiring people to do this using my own processes, and that can scale. So yes, you can still scale with services. However, it's of course not going to be as scalable as a course or a one-to-many program or licensing part of your work, whatever that is, okay? So when you look at what you are selling, I want you to be like, what is my scalable thing and what is my expensive thing? And if you have both of those, and if you position these as, I'm going to call like your hero product. So what I mean by this is, it's like when we look at makeup and hair care and beauty brands, it's like if you talk about like a brand's hero product, what is the thing that they are known for? So what we want to do is be like, okay, cool. How can I make the expensive thing the thing that I am known for? How can I make the scalable thing the thing that I am known for? So it's like when people think about working with me, they think about Give Good Email. And that is my scalable, to some people, my expensive product. And again, this makes a really significant dent in my bank account. I sell 3 of them. I make almost $10,000. I don't really have to do any delivery except keep the course updated, which is for everyone, and do a monthly call, and then just answer questions as they come through in the Facebook group. Really, really simple. So get clear on what are these, and then do an audit on your socials, on your website, wherever you are selling. And maybe you even ask, you're like, when you think about me and the products that I sell, what is the number one thing that comes to mind? And what I will say here is, don't be disheartened if what people tell you is not what you want to hear or you feel disappointed. Because the cool thing is, now we are doing our plan for the next 12 months. You now have 12 months to change this. And if you want to establish yourself as, you know, the expensive thing that you do being the thing that you know you are known for, fantastic, add that into your plan. So if you are like, shit, everyone knows me for this thing that's like $10, the $10 offer, but I don't want to do that. I want to be known as the person that does the best social media strategy. I want to be known as the person that is the best at this, that sells this thing. Fantastic. Add that into your plan. If you don't have that, make a plan over the next 12 months to create both of those offers. And yes, it can be the same one. So your scalable thing can be the expensive thing. That is fine. What I would do as well, little footnote on this, is I would look at the delivery and how you sell it. And ideally, I would have, if you do have your scalable offer, I would make sure that you have some kind of automated email system, some kind of automated system, hint, hint, email marketing to sell the thing and to kind of onboard the person with the delivery of that. And I would make sure that you are kind of auditing the delivery that you have that sells the offer and then onboards the person, so that you are also cutting down people having questions and needing to come to you or being like, what do I do here? I'm not really sure, or then buying the thing and not use it. Okay. Now, we did mention email, which is really point number 3. So I would tell you that you need to have a database that you own that is warm. And what I mean by warm is I will have people that say, I have an email list in case my social media goes down, and they haven't emailed their list in 6 months. And that is a problem. So we want to make sure that if we have a database, that they are nurtured, they are loved up, because the more that these people are loved up and nurtured, this then becomes, I don't want to say a cash cow, but this becomes a really valuable tool for a business. So a lot of us are spending a lot of time on social media, which is fine. We obviously need a visibility strategy. You know, an email list cannot work unless we have people on our email list. And if we look at this on my goals system, it's like lead generation and visibility comes before sales. So we obviously need to have a system for that. However, we need to be conscious that social media has an algorithm and they have an agenda, and that agenda is to keep people there. And if you are a business, it is to get you paying so that the people that follow you see your stuff. And when we look at the average engagement rates for accounts, which of course vary, but you can just Google this, it's like, what is the average Instagram engagement rate? It is so much less than email marketing. So what I would tell you to do is that you need to have a system to get people onto your email list, which is an owned channel. You own your database. And especially if you want to sell your business, that is something that people will look at. You know, wealthy businesses have a database. And whenever I feel like I'm at a loss of what to do next, I will always go to my email list and I will look and see what people are clicking. It gives me this really incredible report. So I'm never at a loss of what to do next, because, you know, if you have a really good email strategy, you gain so much data based on what people are clicking, how they interact with your emails, that it gives you the ability to be like, what products do we want to create next? What sales should we have coming up? What are people interested in? You know, I've always said that if Instagram brought out features that email marketing has, like subscriber profiles and showing what content they read, people would lose their minds. They would be like, this is such a game-changing feature. And I would probably be sitting in the back being like, okay, but email's been doing this for like ever. So where have people been? Why aren't they paying attention? And this is something that will change your business. You know, something that I am big on is that your profit plans will most likely happen with your existing database. And this is something that I teach within Give Good Email. One thing I want you to think about as well is if you look at the case studies that we have online, and this is not a sales pitch of Give Good Email, I'm giving you data on why this works and why you need an email list, is we don't position that you should grow your email list. So all of the case studies that you see have been with someone with an existing list. And we have stuff where someone has increased their email revenue by 880%. We have someone that has doubled their monthly revenue. So it is not about having more people. It is about nurturing the people that you actually have. So don't forget about your email list, because let me tell you, a lot of people do, which works in your favor, because if you nurture people and they have a really bad experience with another brand, it's going to look favorable on you. If social media ever goes down, or you feel like that your engagement just tanks overnight, your livelihood and you getting sales and earning money is never going to be dictated by that because you've done the hard work to actually build up your database. So quick tips. You know what? I'm not even going to give you any tips on this on email because you've got a couple of different workshops on here. If you scroll back through the episodes and you see from the archives, you'll see 2 different email events. Go and watch them. And of course, if you want to upskill, get your butt into Give Good Email. Point number 4, you have to have structure. You have to have structure and a plan. If you are someone that likes to work in flow, it may feel like a plan is restrictive. So this is where I would say a plan is not about knowing that every Monday at 9 o'clock I do this, and then at 9:30 I do this, and then at 9:45 I do this. I do not mean that you need to time block your calendar in such a way where it is rigid like Tetris, and that if something goes out 5 minutes and all of a sudden everything changes. But you need to have structure within your business and parts of your business so you know what you're doing. Structure is a container for flow to come in. And especially if you like to work in flow, if you have structure, you will know the requirements or at least like your KPIs of what you need to do and how you do it. And if we think about this to point number 1, where you have to have a plan, the structure is the framework for the plan and the results that you want to happen. So what this looks like is I know that I need to send 1 email a week. That is the structure that I have for my email list. I send more to segments, but at a minimum, I send 1 a week. Where this works really well for me is knowing, that I send an email. Oh, look, lately it's changed, but historically it was Tuesday. On Monday, I would start to think about ideas and I would wait for an idea to drop in. Or if something happened on the weekend and I was like, oh, I like this. My brain would constantly think about the structure that I have, which is that I need to send an email and it would look for ideas. And previously when I had my first business and I didn't have any structure, it's interesting that I didn't really have any time, I felt like, for creativity. And I never really felt that creative because instead of my brain like being a blank canvas for creative ideas, it was constantly thinking about what I needed to do and when I needed to do it. So the sooner that you decide that, you're going to have more creativity come in. It also means that if you are not getting the results that you want, we can kind of look at the structure that we have created within our business and ask ourselves, is there something that we are doing that is not delivering the results? Maybe we need more time. Maybe we need to do more. Or maybe we have structure and the problem that we actually have is that we're not now following the plan. We're just following our mood. So what I am a big fan of is that you have structure within your week and within your business. And this could look something like that you have a CEO day or that you have a day within your business where you can work on your business. This can look as is in structure where you have with your content. All right. This is quite a broad statement that I've said, but what I want you to look at is I want you to look at your business and I want you to look at what's currently happening. And if I was to say, what structure do you constantly have within your business? There should be a couple of things that we should have. I like to know what I'm doing in the month, and then I kind of will have some loose structure within my week. As I said, we do 2 podcast episodes a week. I have a newsletter. I kind of know what I need to do. And this is really helpful than me not having structure for the podcast because trust me, I wouldn't do it. There would be months that would go past before me being like, oh my God, shit, I can't believe that I haven't recorded an episode in 3 months. And if you actually go back and you look at the podcast, there have been gaps. So structure has been amazing in the way for me staying consistent and keeping a promise to myself. And then also with that, it gives me the ability to work through the mindset stuff that comes up. For example, I know that I have to do a podcast episode every Monday. So it's interesting that when I go to record that, I may be like, oh, I've got no idea. Oh, that's a really bad idea. Then I get to be like, why is that a bad idea? Why is that happening? So it gives me the ability to kind of address stuff and actually do mindset work in the process. Number 5, I would tell you to get a network and I would tell you to focus on partnerships. A lot of people try to do everything themselves. So we think about the results that we want in our business and we assume that we have to drive everything. But what if I were to tell you that many hands make light work and what we want, someone else will have? There is a chance that we want to work with a client and that could just be a conversation away of us asking someone for a connection or a referral. What if I were to tell you that someone has all of the clients that you want And that was just a conversation away from you pitching and saying we should do some kind of joint venture workshop. What if I were to tell you that the clients that you want to work with are potentially seeking services for someone like you, and all that you need to do is send a timely email? What if I were to tell you that if you want to sit at a particular table, that it would actually be really easy for you to put yourself there if you were to just have a conversation? If you have a good network and you have some kind of partnerships, this will be so advantageous for you in business. And I don't want to hear anyone say, I don't know anyone. Guess what, bitch? When I first moved to Melbourne, I didn't know anyone either. Guess what happened? I was dating this really shit guy who the day I signed my lease just conveniently disappeared. And I had a friend from my childhood that lived here and then moved out to the suburbs. So when I moved here, I didn't know anyone. I had my Instagram account, and do you know what I did? This was when I was doing network marketing. I printed out this poster and I was like, I need to meet people. I need to get clients. I need to get businesses. So I printed this poster out and I walked up Chapel Street. And in all of the shops that I thought that I could do something with, I went in and I introduced myself. I left them this flyer and I followed up. And I wasn't going to tell myself that just because I didn't know people here that I wasn't going to be successful. Because I know wherever I put myself, success will follow, because I know that the person that will deliver me the success is me. I know that it's not anyone else outside of myself. I know that it is me. So this is where whatever you want, you can make happen. This is why I'm in a co-working space, because I wanted to network with people that had bigger businesses. I wanted to be around people that could introduce me to other people. This is where parents will send their kids to a private school for the connections. You can go and create your own connections. And let me tell you, a lot of people in our online business entrepreneur world, they just don't do this for whatever reason. And I think that it's because they may think, oh, well, what will they think? Or I don't know what to say. That's okay. Just don't be a weird fucking human and just be a good person. So what I've written here is get out of the vacuum. If you are a business coach, there's a chance that the other people that you hang around with are business coach or they're B2B. Think about other people. Like, go and get a friend that has a sunscreen business. Go and get a friend that has like a Jim's mowing business, whatever. But think outside of the vacuum and start to expand your network, okay? Ask for referrals. If you want a connection with someone, ask for an in. And lastly, I've written a point here is I want you to put yourself at tables where you belong at. So think about the kinds of crowds or businesses that you want to connect with. And even if it feels like a super big reach, what would it look like for you to find a networking event and put yourself there? Or if there's a co-working space, go and spend a day there a month. Or you know what? Let's think outside the box. Where do these people go? Where's their coffee shop? Where's their bar? Maybe you're going to add that into your strategy and just get in front of these people. Connect with them on LinkedIn. I've done this before where I've read someone's book and I've loved it. And I connect with them on LinkedIn and I'm like, hey, I want to let you know I've read your book and it's fantastic. I absolutely love chapter 3. Thank you so much. Because let me tell you that the people that you think are like on this super pedestal, a lot of people think that they are so untouchable. They probably never get contacted. I was interviewed by a guy last year called Graham McGregor, and I saw him come up on like this website called Source Bottle, which if you're not on it, get on it. Source Bottle is incredible. They send out communications usually about 10 to 10:30 and then 2 to 2:30, and it's where magazine articles and news outlets will go and they need a source. And I saw this website and they're like, I want to talk to someone. I think it was about like marketing or growth. I can't remember what it was. And I responded, he responded back to me. And it was really interesting. He's like, I love your stuff. Can we actually interview you for this and this? So I was with him on this Zoom call, I think it was about an hour and a half. And as you know, I love Daddy Alan. I love Alan Weiss. He had said something and I was like, oh my God, I love Alan. I love Alan Weiss. I said, I actually call him Daddy Alan. And he had said, well, it's really interesting you say that because I had actually asked him for an interview and he wrote back and said yes. I think he praised his book or something. And then he said, I'd love to interview you. And Alan wrote back and was like, yep, sure, done. And he is this huge consultant that works with big businesses and he was more than happy to do that. And that was something that Graham had said that he had done. I will say he has a fantastic newsletter. He emails every day. It's full of actionable tips. I love it. I love that this was his approach. of just going and asking for things that you want. Because so many of us want shit in business, but it's like we still have this chosen wound. I will sit here and I will wait to be chosen. Choose your fucking self. You choose yourself. Choose yourself. Okay. The next thing I would tell you to do is I want you to think commercial. A lot of us think really, really small. Now, you don't have to do anything with this, but it is nice for you to have an understanding of how big your vision could go. And why this is cool is it may highlight some things that you never thought that you could do. So what would it look like if we were to turn the thing that you do into a TV show? What would it look like as a book? What would it look like for you to have a big partnership with a different company? For example, when I had my Pilates DVD and I exhibited at the Fitness Expo, I met the company Garmin. I met someone that worked at Garmin and we talked about doing some kind of partnership. Unfortunately for me, I was young, I was stupid. I think I fucked that up because nothing came from it. So I wish that I was me now. But it was interesting that when this happened, it all of a sudden planted a seed in my mind of all of the things that I could do and all of the possibilities that I could have. So I think about this a lot. When I think about the results that I want in my business, but then I'm like, what would it look like to think bigger? What would it look like if, Professional Babe was a big brand? How would things look? Would we have a Netflix series where it would be the exciting life of Peter Serrett? We look at like the behind the scenes of, me coming to my co-working space. Like what would it look like? And what would it look like to have a book deal? What would it look like to be like the Anthony Robbins of my industry? And again, this isn't about going and doing all of this and altering the plan. But what you may find is that there is stuff in there when I ask you this and you're like, I never thought that this could be possible, but I realize that this is so deeply exciting to me. What would it look like for you to have a collaboration with Tom Ford? What would it look like for you to do like a joint venture with Mel Robbins? Like let's think bigger. And what I want you to do from here is whatever feels exciting. If you're like, oh, I love the idea of that, cool. As Lacey Phillips says from the Expanded podcast, Her Business is To Me Magnetic, is to go and look for expanders because this shows your subconscious what is possible. Because what you need for the next 12 months is not something to minimize you. It is something to expand you. You are an entrepreneur. You are a visionary. So you are not meant to think small. You are meant to think big. And there is a chance that you could go a lot bigger than you are now. What would this look like? And then go and find people that have already done that so you actually can see within yourself that this is possible for you. Now, the next point, I would tell you to refine everything. So we want a really big, incredible brand. We want an amazing next 12 months. I would ask yourself that when we actually take stock and we take an audit, everything that you've done. So the pictures on your website, your socials, all of your comms, if we were to kind of take everything that you're doing in your business and put it on a table, let's put everything into years, okay? So we've got 2025, 2024, 2023, you get the idea. Put everything that you've done into years and ask yourself how much of what you are doing is an old, outdated version of you. And this is where I would ask yourself, are you still that same person that you were back in 2023? If you're still using the same pitch deck or the same images or the same language, is that you? And if not, we need to update and we need to refine. Remember, it is not about doing this all at once. It is about recognizing what you want and knowing that we have 12 months to make this happen. So I know for me, my website is lush and it is beautiful, but when I look at it, I'm like, I did this. I started the process in 2021 and it launched early 2022. I know that we are ready for the next evolution of Professional Babe. So I've got this jotted down. We need to get new pictures. We need to do this. We need to do that. That's fine. Ask yourself, what areas in your business do you need to refine? And don't worry for the minute about budget, because remember, ideally our plan and our goals should bring budget in. So if you have made a plan and you don't have any marketing budget, you don't have any for this, you have to go and you have to amend your plan. Because remember, you're a business, you're meant to make money. It's not about either or. It's not about doing a photo shoot or paying yourself. It's about having both. I would refine everything. And maybe this is going to be your task for July, or maybe now, where you are going to just take stock of everything that makes up your business and ask yourself, what needs refinement? If I know the business that I am growing into and who I could become, what parts do I need to fix up? Now, we are lucky that we have access to things like chat and Claude. And this can even be you running your messaging and your website through and being like, hey, like I've taken a full page screenshot of my website and this is the business owner that I want to be. These are my goals. This is what we're growing into. Where can you see a disconnect with how I'm showing up and representing myself at the moment? What do I need to elevate? Can you pinpoint some areas and some things that I could do? Now, that's what I would do on a budget. If you have cash, this is where I would go and I would bring in a team. And I would outsource that decision to someone that is really good at that has that beautiful creative eye that can take you to the next level. You know, I don't build my website. I just don't do that. I pay someone, I pay a company, I work with Lethal in Perth. Lee and his team is amazing. They've done, I think for me, about 5 or 6 websites. So when it gets time to create a website, I'm not going to do that. That's not my area of expertise. What I do is I work with the best and I make them do that. So this for me could look like now, okay, cool. If I know this is happening in 12 months, maybe I loop him in. The next point is I would put your intellectual property and your lived experiences and your process and your stories and your methodology into assets. Not to let the cat out of the bag, but we will be doing something with this in probably August or September. So if you are like, ooh, this sounds good, know that I am going to do something really fun. You're hearing this first. But if you are a personal brand and you have a founder that is front and center and you have an incredible story, I think that we overlook everything that we have done and our teachings and our methodology and who we have become. We overlook all of that. And sometimes we will be sitting at our computer, we'll be looking at a blank screen and we're like, I don't know what to type. You know, we can look at people like Brene Brown and Mel Robbins, and it is interesting that they will regularly repeat the same stuff. They have the same anecdotes and the same stories. And what they have done, they've done this really smartly, is they have turned their lived experience or a story or something that has happened into an asset that we buy in on with our money or with our attention or our time, whatever it is. And this is something that I would do because I think a lot of people in the online space, they are looking at what is stuff that I can talk about now? Okay, so what's an example of this? It could be something with like AI and the future of business. So you'll see people talk about that, but they won't really talk about things that connect, that, you know, is something that their competitor can't do. Because you think about it, if we're all talking about the same thing, this is where it's like, well, what is the differentiation of what we're doing? Like if I am talking about you should work with me because I'm the best business coach / consultant and everyone else is saying that, no one's really going to stand out. But if I'm talking about the reason that you should work with me is because I've been in business for 16 years, I'm experienced across a number of different industries, I've sold a business, I have lost money, I've made a lot of money, but I've never lost myself in the process. You can see here how I'm going to stand out. And all I have done is I have brought in parts of my past into what I am actually doing, like my content, my podcast episodes. Someone that I love and a great example of this is if you go to Sophia Amoruso's website and you scroll down, it is a beautiful example of her entrepreneurial timeline. She's not trying to compete. She's not trying to be anything. She is just highlighting her awesome self and her awesome journey. She has done a lot. She has done incredible things, and you can see this on her website. It's like if you have lived an amazing life, if you have an incredible entrepreneurial or business timeline, it's like if you are like, I could write a book with everything that I've ever done, then we need to start and take that intellectual property and lived experiences and bring that into our brand, because our competitors cannot compete with that, because they can't compete with us, because that is us. So I would get clear on what that is, what your compelling stories are, and ask yourself, how can we pull them out and put them into assets? So how could I write a book out of that? How can that be a TED Talk? How can that be something where this could be a speaking topic or a workshop? And again, if you want help with that, something is coming. The next thing that I would do to have the best 12 months in business is I would learn how to reclaim your power and how to stand in your power. I have a book recommendation. Everyone needs to read Unbound, A Woman's Guide to Power by Kaja Urbaniak. It is amazing. And why I love it is if you have ever felt like that you have been in a situation and then you walk away and you are replaying what you would have said in the shower, or if you walk away from a situation and you're like, why did I say that? I can't believe this happened. And you are continually second guessing what you've said or how you showed up, or you wish that you could have done something different. This book is going to be fantastic for you. If you are a woman in business, you need it. Because it is an unfortunate part that sometimes, claiming your power is a skill. Staying in your power is a skill. This book is amazing. If you don't want to read the book, go and watch her on YouTube, watch her reels. She has a lot of tactical tips. I'm obsessed with her. She used to be a dominatrix, and she has in her videos is just presence and power. And I think that if there is something that we all need, it is more of that, because it is an unfortunate part of business that as we do more, as we rise, as we grow, as we are more visible, we are going to continually need to defend ourselves and how we're doing things around other people. Other people will always want to add their footnote on our life. And what we need to do is stand in our power. This book is going to be an amazing tool for that. And it is going to be really incredible, especially if you have decided that you are going to show up in a different way over these next 12 months or do something that is really bold or big. There is going to be a chance that you have people within your life that are going to be minimizing you or what you do, or make you small, or drag you back to this version that they know of you. Fuck them. Stand in your power. Get this book. And then lastly, the best thing that you can do is to decide that you are going to be the exception, and that when everything good happens, and that whenever you get a little seed of good, or you get a sale, or you get some kind of evidence that is supporting the life and the business that you want, is to affirm, of course. I just checked my inbox before when I was trying to find something, and I saw that 4 people had opted into the event that I am doing. And when I saw that, I was like, of course they did. I'm pretty sure they came in on my Facebook ads, and I'm like, well, of course they did. They're amazing. And what I love to do here, and why this is really important around why we want to be the exception, is if you look for evidence as to why this is not going to work, you will find it. But if you currently can't find any evidence, I always tell myself, so if I am trying to do something and I'm like, I just don't know if it's possible, I've never seen this done before, I tell myself that I'm meant to go first and that I am meant to be the exception, because there is going to be a whole lot of people that come after me that will then look to me as to how this is possible for them. That is what I believe. So go through this next 12 months telling yourself that everything that you want is possible, and that even if you cannot find any evidence that this can happen, you are the exception. You are the exception to the rule. And that anytime you have a little seed of good, like just a little nibble of something that comes through, I want you to affirm that with, of course this is happening. Do not do it for the bad stuff. We forget about that. We don't want more of that. No thanks, return to sender. But that good, oh yes. Oh, yes, please. Of course this is happening to me. Of course my hair looks great today. Of course my skin looks great today. Of course I've had people opt into my event. Of course. So that is going to be your mantra moving forward for the next 12 months. Of course this is going to happen for you. Anything that you want is 100% possible. I believe this should be true. I believe that you can have the most stellar, incredible next 12 months. The key is that you are not passive with it. The key is that you are just not going to wake up one day and then hope that everything is going to work out. You need to be decisive with your future, and you have to plan. And if you want something, you have to make that happen. If you want an amazing result, you have to make that happen. And even if it feels like that it is big and scary and you don't have any evidence and you don't know how it's going to be possible, the first step is just deciding and believing that it will, and then doing the work so everything falls in place. Hot stuff. I believe that you can do this. I believe that you can make this happen. If you want help, you have a couple of different options. 1, listen to my podcast. I pride myself on giving you good, free content. Listen to the podcast. We have a number of different workshops that you can access as well with some sexy worksheets. If you want help planning your next 12 months, download my $35 offer. I know you're like, if it's only $35, how good is it? Trust me, it is incredible. And if you really want to dive in and you want to partner together, if you want a business advisor that has a vested interest in you being successful and that is going to hold you to a standard where everything that you want, we will make happen. So if you tell me I want to have $500,000 year, if you're like, I want this, be prepared, because I will hold you to a standard where that will happen and we will do it together. So it is not about you doing everything. It is about coming together. Let's partner together and let's get these really hot and sexy results. I will link these offers below. Find me, ask me any questions, but hot stuff. I love this. I love this. I love you. I actually planned out my next, I think it was 7 podcast episodes. Usually what I'll do, I'll come in on the weekend and I will record our Monday and our Thursday one. I do that ahead of time. It has been rare that I am sitting down to do 7. Actually, I'm doing 6. It's been rare that I've done that, but it's been feeling really good. I feel fired up. I actually love this. And maybe it's going to be something that I do in future. Maybe not all of them, maybe just our little Monday mindset ones. But I love that I created a plan and I stuck to it. What was that? Was that point number 5? No, it was point number 4, have structure. So I love this. I love you more than what I actually have planned for my business. I don't know when I'm launching this, but maybe I'm going to give you a bit of a sneak peek. How does that sound? You know, when I started my business, I really wanted to work with small business or solo founders that were growing and scaling. I never set out to work with corporates and big companies. We've had some amazing people come through, and it's interesting that I tend to meet companies and they're like, we want to work with you. And it's interesting that I feel like they look at my brand and they're like, oh, I'm not really sure about this. But for me, I've never really felt like I've lost money because I've always really wanted to work with the segment that I've wanted to work with. But, you know, I keep getting this advice and I keep meeting these awesome clients. And now that I do have an agenda where I'm like, girlfriend needs to do her bathroom and she wants to buy a car and I want to take my mum on the Orient Express. And that is like expensive. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Like, you have these people who want to work with you, let's do it. So I'm actually starting a professional consulting business. It's going to be something official and sleek. Official, sleek, and expensive. And I feel really good about this. Watch this space. So I love you more than that. I love you more than the fact that I went out for my friend Emma's birthday the other night and we were with Emma from the Broke Generation and Tash from Tash Invests. And I'm sitting looking at my beautiful friends and they were just talking. They're running a retreat. And, you know, I was thinking, oh my gosh, you both have a book. We've all got podcasts. Like, they've got incredible big social media, like, followings. They've created such a good brand for themselves. And I was just looking at the people that I was sitting with being like, how cool is it that we do this? It is the easiest time to follow your dream and create a business out of that. And I love that I have people in my life that are doing incredible things. I am so proud of them. They inspire me every single day. I looked at both of them and I was like, I want a book. So I love you more than my wonderful friends and all of the cool things that they do. I love you more than a sexy little Diet Coke. I feel like I have my life together. If I've got lipstick on, I've got heels on, my sunglasses on, and I've got a can of Diet Coke. Like, for me, I'm like, yes, this is a good day. And I'm about to have one of those moments as we have a sexy little break. Hot stuff. I love this. I love you. We are both going to have an incredible 12 months. I can't wait to meet future Peter, and I'm so excited for you to meet future you. See you later, hot stuff.